Let's take a look at the energies of this Libra new moon happening on October 21st, 2025 at 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time, so be sure and adjust for your location. The Libra new moon is happening at 28 degrees of Libra, 21 minutes in your chart. This is where you want to identify where you have this degree point. You do not need to have any planets or points around 28 degrees of Libra. Rather, you're identifying the house that this new moon is occurring in for you. I do have a tutorial video here on YouTube called How to Find a Degree Point in Your Chart. Be sure to watch that if you need assistance in finding these new moon energies. So the new moon is happening at the end of Libra season, and this is going to be the trend into 2026, where we are closing out Libra energies, and then we have a new beginning point. Every new moon is when the sky is the darkest. It's a time of beginnings and initiation. But when it occurs at the end of a zodiac sign, we have more wisdom. We have more we've been figuring out, contemplating, talking about in Libra season. More people perhaps we've been interacting with and discussing things with. And here we arrive at a new moon that is asking you to have an objective, wise understanding of what you're ready to initiate based on what Libra season has been revealing to you. Libra energies focus on balance, harmony, what you want to experience in your interactions with other people. Libra energies are about choice points, how we share our energy, how we speak what's on our mind, as well as listen to others. It is the ongoing interactions and who we engage with regularly. Libra is about one-on-one connections. And so what has Libra season been showing you that has brought you to higher understanding of Libra energies in your own life? And what new beginning are you initiating here? But it's based on what you've been moving throughout the Libra season. Also, since we had the Virgo solar eclipse new moon at 29 degrees of Virgo back on September 21st. Since that new moon, we've been in an intense cycle of understanding more about ourselves in relational dynamics. How we show up, how we communicate and interact, what is reciprocal, what is mutual, what is not. So this is a new moon based on what you've been moving through over the past month especially. But again, it has a maturity to it at the end of the sign. I feel like that in itself means that this is a new moon that elevates us. And it brings in the knowledge, even of hindsight, so that you can be more intentional in what you want with Libra energies going forward. Now, the Libra energies are ruled by Venus. Venus is here in Libra as well. But interesting to note that she is unaspected in this chart, meaning she's not in direct communication with another planet. She's already had her interactions with the three outer planets. When Venus first moved into Libra, she had the opposition to Neptune. She trined this Uranus, and she trined this Pluto. Since then, she has been understanding more of what matters to her in her personal connections, how she gives and receives love, how she feels worthy, Venus in Libra is how we share ourselves with others. And you could have some new awareness here around what you're willing to do differently with this new moon because of what started or what came to your attention when Venus had these initial interactions with the outer planets. And that happened back on October 14th, so a month before this new moon. And there could be some things that she's seeing in herself that she wants to approach differently. She could be in a deeper relationship with herself. And I feel that when a planet is unaspected, such as this Venus, which rules the new moon, I feel that she's actually balancing her connection with the universe. She's working internally. She's more invested in her own energy until she has her next aspect with the next planet, which will be a T-square. The T-square with Chiron and Jupiter. I'm going to get to that in just a moment because that T-square is in play here still for this Libra new moon. But anyways, there's a part of this Venus who is adjusting her harmony internally and with the universe as she travels unaspected for a while now until she interacts with Jupiter and Chiron in November. Now, with this new moon, the sun and the moon at 28 degrees are coming off of an exact interaction with Chiron at 24 degrees at Aries retrograde and this Jupiter at 24 degrees of Cancer. Now, you can see that these two are in a square, and that square unfolds into January. Yes, multiple months of this square because Jupiter is going to station retrograde in November 11th, and then will be retrograde and therefore still tracking with this Chiron also retrograde. So they're in an ongoing T-square that I'm going to keep talking about. It's going to keep coming up because it's important. See, this Chiron in Aries is bringing you into deeper self-awareness about what you want, and maybe you felt vulnerable or insecure about an area of your self-identity, self-confidence, independence, the courage to be yourself. And so this Chiron in Aries is continuing to take you on a self-actualizing journey that actually wants you to welcome in more of who you truly are, to accept it, love it, and welcome it, because that Chiron energy is holding some type of wound that probably started in childhood and is asking you to come back to your core self. Look at the medicine you need, the remedy you need to heal this part of yourself. Love yourself more fully and completely, which sounds all good and dandy, but then it brings you into the deeper imprints of that wound. And with this square to Jupiter in Cancer, the past, memories, emotional imprints, where you've been, what you've experienced, where you've been holding on to something from the past, there's going to be perhaps a clear message, very clear message on what you're ready to heal and evolve, because there can be a big trigger or discomfort with this square. Jupiter squaring Chiron makes it loud and clear through your feelings what you need to learn from. Jupiter wants growth, wants more self-acceptance, wants you to see the good and the positive in previous experiences. And I feel that this particular square is how there can be opportunities to deeply heal something that has been a part of your self-concept, self-identity, and you're healing it at an emotional level and a personal level. The squares could be by force. And then when we're talking about this ongoing square, well, we also have had in the mix the sun creating a T-square. That means an opposition to Chiron and a square to Jupiter. And that was exact 4 or 5 days before this new moon, October 16th and 17th. But at this new moon, it's still within orb. It's still lingering. It's still present. And the energies in Libra are about objective understanding, detaching from the wound and the emotions inherent in it, and observing yourself, observing a past experience, observing the trigger. That Libra energy will step back and see something more objectively. And so you could have an objective insight here. Again, it started, or it would have been really strong 5 days before the new moon. Then the new moon arrives. And the new moon is always when the sky is the darkest. And there can be a quiet and a calm and a stillness. And that's when the new understanding comes through. And you're going to see a part of yourself in a new way. Perhaps understand more of what needs to change. And that's important when we're talking about the cardinal signs. So the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, which is not in the story here. But these 3 cardinal signs are the initiation of new growth and new direction. The cardinal signs begin every season in the Western tropical astrology system. And so here we have a push to grow through past experiences that shaped you and formed you, that were a part of who you have been. And there's a pressure point here around the new moon, and this can, of course, be around relationships, partnerships, business interactions, communications. Any of these Libra themes are coming to the forefront, and there's a pressure point here of growth. And that is one of the gifts of a T-square, because there's challenge with the square. See, there's 2 squares and an opposition, and both the squares are pointing to this Jupiter, which wants you to emotionally evolve and tap into the wisdom of the feelings. And I feel too like this is where those core imprints can be changed. Now, I feel too like sometimes this energy can be very sensitive. The Jupiter in Cancer could be highly defensive, can be super aware of all the feelings in the environment. This could push you to not take on so much and be like, that's not mine, which is a Libra understanding, a higher point of wisdom of what is yours and what is not yours. What is yours to hold and be responsible for, and what is not? And where are you ready to push through? It feels like something from the past. But of course, this could be something you're in right now. So trust whatever it is for you. But it's meant to push you through and to have more balance and detachment around what you've been through. There's also the message here with these 3 planets in Libra to not hold so much emotion around something. Because the Aries and the Cancer, fire signs and water signs can have a lot of emotion in it. And this is saying less emotion, is going to help this situation for you. It's going to help you see it more objectively and more clearly. Now, as I say that, we segue into discussing this water grand trine. And something beautiful is happening with this water grand trine, because this is going to help move the emotions, the feelings, what you've been holding. It's going to help purge and transmute what you're ready to release. I'm just seeing this as a permanent shift in maybe something you've been holding, a fear, especially with both this Mars and Mercury conjunct in Scorpio. Pushing through a fear or being willing to work with it more intentionally, more personally, and being very honest with yourself about recognizing it. And so keep in mind that this can also be taking responsibility for an older version of yourself, a previous version of consciousness where, oh yeah, I did certain behaviors, or I said certain things, or I was a certain way, and I want to mature and grow from that. I want to be better now. And this is happening because both the Mars and Mercury are trining the Saturn at 26 Pisces retrograde, which is also trining this Jupiter that we've been discussing. And the fact that this Saturn is here is really important, because Saturn in Pisces is closing out 30 years of energies, experiences, lessons, growth, responsibilities, closing it out with an understanding of, okay, this is what I have to take care of still. This is what's still in front of me. Saturn doesn't let us off the hook. There's no shortcuts. Saturn wants a job well done, wants us to show up, be responsible, honor our commitments. And the Saturn is providing an anchor, an emotional anchor of maturity to what you're committed to transforming. And this is a sense of, I'm ready. I'm ready to address this thing from the past, or this previous part of my experience, or these emotions I've been holding. Of course, whatever it is for you. But this is a water grand trine that spiritually matures us. And we're happy. We're happy to do so. We're happy. It's going to feel good, because Jupiter in Cancer gives the 2 thumbs up. And then here we have this Mars and Mercury in Scorpio saying, I'm personally invested and I'm on board. I want to look at this thing and change it. Now, this can also be in Scorpio relationship energies. And that is important to note when we have the 3 planets in Libra and 2 in Scorpio. It brings up relationship improvements, important discussions to have with people in your life, whether that is a partner, a spouse, a friend, a business partner, whomever. The focus is on the other. And of course, to someone else, you are the other. But this is about working through anything in your personal relationships that can be improved, that are ready for a new starting point. There may be a sense of, I want to talk about this, I want to resolve this, I want to solve this, I want to improve this. And that is supported with the water grand trine. There's also support here for honesty, for personal responsibility. There's a lot of change that's supported with this Libra new moon. Now, keep in mind, Mars conjunct Mercury Well, that can be a fast talker, and that can be speaking too soon, lots of anger, blurting something out, shooting from the hip. There's a lot here in this conjunction that can actually also get you in trouble if you're not aware of what you're saying or communicating. So as always, whenever Mercury is conjunct Mars, don't speak too soon, don't act too soon if you're pissed off and raging. I do think that the trine to Saturn can help temper that, but these two are going to be conjunct again in November because we have Mercury retrograde starting in November. I believe it's November 9th. It starts in Sagittarius and it comes back to make another conjunction to Mars. So you want to be very conscientious of what you're saying now so that it doesn't come back and bite you in the butt in November. But if you are understanding the power of your words, the emotion within and behind what you're communicating, this can be very productive, especially in the air grand trine. This is like, again, speaking your truth, speaking a truth, and that being well received and supported in this Libra new moon. It's going to be necessary to maintain balance because there's a lot of water in this chart. And then something to note is that right after the Libra new moon, later on October 22nd, the next day, the sun enters Scorpio. Scorpio season begins. And throughout Scorpio season, we continue to have this water grand trine. The water grand trine persists throughout Scorpio season. Really helping that transmutation and regeneration of what you're ready to let go of, but also this Saturn is important here because it's a grounding influence with all this water. Almost like Saturn is a filter. And you could feel like you're really filtering out some things. So as Scorpio season begins the day after the new moon, the moon and the sun both enter Scorpio, right? And then they're going to each have a square to Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, 22 minutes now direct. And this Pluto direct is very important. And as I say that, I'm remembering that also during this new moon, the energy of Three-Eye Atlas is very strong. And it will be at perihelion the end of October. But that does relate to this Pluto in Aquarius and interstellar communications and activities coming into our conscious awareness. And then again, as the sun and the moon move into Scorpio and square this Pluto, there can be fear around that. Fear around understanding what does this interstellar energies mean? What is this about? How is it rocking our consciousness? What's the message? So that is one interpretation of when the sun is in Scorpio and squares Pluto, the fears that come up, that can be more extreme and have a lot of depth. But it's meant to bust us through those fears, right? We're meant to be able to expand our consciousness and be open to what we don't know and what we never even conceived was possible. And then also right after the Libra new moon is when this Neptune retrograde in Aries here at this world point re-enters Pisces and sits at 29 degrees of Pisces until January 26th. This is the point of brand new beginning, 0 degrees of Aries, and Neptune goes back to 29 degrees of Pisces, which is significant endings, which we've been talking about all year. But then we're going to have both this Neptune and Saturn in Pisces together, ending chapters, closing out some important influential energies on the planet. And then Neptune going back into Pisces brings in another water sign. So we're going to have a lot of water energy. And you can see in this chart, there's no Earth. Actually, the only Earth would be the South Node at 15 degrees of Virgo. So it can be a more emotional time of intense processing. This can help our intuitive senses, getting more into the heart of what we feel and the heart that we have, because the water signs do connect to your heart consciousness. So there's strong heart consciousness, there's strong cosmic consciousness. There's a lot that's evolving us and that we are emotionally processing, especially around the new moon and then into November. And so I hope that's positive for you. I hope those are wonderful things occurring in your life that lift you up, that make you feel happy, joyful, positive, excited. I hope it makes you feel alive in all the best ways. And this is where we consciously choose our timeline. You're choosing your perspective. You're choosing what you're going to invest in. And yes, we have to be honest with our feelings, brutally honest about what we're feeling. But then this will help elevate anything that's been stuck. This can help lift you up to a higher timeline as well, as you release old ways of being. So our emotional core is going to be changing throughout Scorpio season at a very deep, intense level. So as always, thank you for joining me as we go through this Libra new moon chart. Next up, we'll be talking about the Taurus full moon, and that will also be ruled by Venus. So I will have that chart here for you in a few weeks. Thank you so much for your comments, your likes, subscribes, and shares. Please feel free to share this with others who might benefit from understanding more about the Libra new moon. And remember to check out that tutorial video, how to find a degree point in your chart if you need help finding where 28 degrees of Libra is for you by house placement. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you back here soon.